Hello and welcome to episode 198 of the Thinking LSAT podcast in Los Angeles. I'm Nathan Fox. With me in Vienna, Virginia, Ben Olson. Hey, Ben, I have to apologize for Tuesday morning snafu.
I'm considering your apology, yes. No.
For the listeners, on Tuesday morning, I was traveling. I was at my buddy's place in Lake Tahoe. And I had a wonderful day. On Monday, we got this invitation to go out on a friend of a friend's boat. And we did a full lap of Lake Tahoe in this like 1961 wood-sided powerboat.
Wow.
It was nuts. I've been to Lake Tahoe before, but I've never been on like a lap around the lake on a powerboat.
Yeah.
And that lake is gigantic and spectacularly beautiful. And it was just this, like, I didn't even know what planet I was on. And so then on Tuesday morning, I just didn't answer the bell. Ben was waiting for me to record the podcast. And I was just like, didn't know what day it was, hadn't looked at my email, like did nothing, just full on vacation mode. So we had to reschedule. So I do apologize for that, Ben.
No worries. The funny part was I texted you and then I think I didn't hear back. And then I just got like this normal everyday email, you know, blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, wait, what's he doing?
Oh,
like,
so I did get up and was like was checking my email. I was probably just drinking coffee and like sort of like, all right, well, let me clean up some of these emails. And then like, oh shit, I forgot it's Tuesday. Well, I did look it up, Ben. I had to try to find I was telling friends about it, this story, and I was kind of laughing about it. And I was like, I like to be reliable, you know, I like to answer the bell. And, I had to look it up, and we are now over the 5-year mark, Ben. I don't know if you realize that, but we started the podcast sometime in 2014.
Oh, okay.
And, I think that was the first time that I completely spaced on a recording. We've had other snafus along the way, but I think that's the first time that I absolutely forgot about a show. So do you give me once every 5 years? I can do that?
Of course. Yeah. I'm sure I've missed more than that. So
no, I don't think you ever just like straight forgot. We've had technical difficulties and other things along the way, but that's a new one. Okay. Today on the show, we're going to update you about the new LSAT retake policy. Very overly complicated retake policy from the LSAT.
yeah.
We are going to review somebody's personal statement, and we're going to dive into Prep Test 71, which is now free on LSAC's website. So we're going to do a logical reasoning question from Prep Test 71. Hopefully we can get through all that. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah. Hopefully so.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool. This episode is going to air on June 24th. That is going to be 3 days before the June scores are released by email. July 15th is the next LSAT. That's the transition test, half digital, half written, or half pencil and paper. August 1st is the last day to register for the September LSAT. Want to make sure you keep an eye on that. Of course, the July scores are not going to be out until well after August 1st. So August 1st is the next date you really need to worry about to register, last day to register for the September 21st LSAT. Solid 7 weeks in advance that they want you to register for that September LSAT. Email the show anytime, help@thinkinglsat.com. Send us your selfies when you do that so we can post your face on our social media. Remember, you can listen to the show in a bazillion different ways, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, thinkinglsat.com. Leave us a review when you do that, please. Subscribe and review, please. Demon updates, Ben?
Yeah. So a couple things. One, if you haven't seen it yet, when you log in, you can click on billing and upgrade to premium. Premium is $195 a month, and that gives you access to all the modern tests above.
This is lsatdemon.com, by the way, if you have no idea what we're talking about.
Sorry,
lsatdemon.com is our online LSAT prep platform, and you can do a free trial, 7 days.
So, yeah, you can get access to the most recent tests and some of the more obscure tests like A, B, and C if you subscribe to premium. Yeah, so just go to billing and do that if you want to get those tests. Also, we continue to work on the proctored tests feature. This morning we were so right now, what you can do is you can go into the daemon, you can click on timed tests, and you can just sit down and take a full time test at any time from your computer or laptop or tablet, phone, whatever. But if you want to take a test like you're going to take a test on the actual test day, in which case the proctor will control your timer and all those things, even when you're taking it digitally. We've created that functionality. And what happens is you go into the time test and you click on join group and you join an active test that's going on at that time, and the proctor will control your timer and all those things. Now, we're going to try to host one of those, right? Hopefully on Sunday, June 30th, if we can.
Yep, Sunday, June 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Just email help@thinkinglsat to RSVP for that. We've got a limited number of spots, but I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be awesome. You'll get an invitation to a Zoom meeting, so you can see the proctor and you can see the other people who are there sitting, waiting for the test to start. You'll be able to talk to the proctor, talk to the other students if you want. Then the proctor will take control of your instance of the daemon and start the test for you and run through all the sections. Ben and I will be there at the beginning of the test just to sort of say hi to everybody. So please come say hello before the test. After the test, we'll leave the Zoom group open and then people can review the test together if they would like.
Yeah. And this will be a 5-section test. So you'll get 3 sections, a break, and then 2 more sections. We'll insert an experimental section in there, which will just be another official test section from another test. But yeah. So
that's for Daemon subscribers. Well, I guess, and Daemon free trial users. Hey, sign up for your 7-day free trial right before. What's the date again of that test?
June 30th.
June 30th. So if you sign up by the time you hear this, you'd be able to sign up for a free trial and RSVP for this virtual proctored test if you would like. So that's all at lsatdemon.com. Again, please email help@thinkinglsat.com if you want to RSVP for the Sunday, June 30th, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern proctored practice test.
Yeah.
Cool. This announcement, I think we already covered it. July test takers, then cancelers. You're not going to get reimbursed for September. You can take a free one between October 2019 and April 2020, but you can't get your money back for that September test.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a bummer. Ready for this awesome, overly lengthy LSAC email?
Yeah. Alternatively, we could just tell everybody what the ultimate rules are.
Yeah. It's always fun to kind of make fun of LSAT emailing LSAC's emails. Yeah. But yeah, we've got a lot to get through today. So maybe we should just get to the details. I mean, so here's the thing.
Maybe we should read this, at least this first paragraph. I'm just reading this sentence right now. Based on our estimates, this policy will impact a small number of people, less than 1% of all LSAT test takers. Like, wow, they really do their due diligence on some level and then not on others.
It was funny on the Facebook group. By the way, Thinking LSAT podcast group on Facebook, you can join and just kind of bullshit about all this stuff with the other listeners. But everybody was like, I actually made a couple of responses to people's comments because everybody was freaking out. Like this thing was giving them so much anxiety. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, listen, this is not a big deal. This is not going to change the game for anybody.
Yeah.
It seems like a big deal, but it's just really not a big deal. Should we read it?
Yeah, well, we can read it. And just to provide a little historical context here,
a
long time ago, you could only take 3 tests, 3 official LSATs in 2 years. After that 2-year period expired, you could then start taking the test again, but you were limited to 3 times in a 2-year time frame. And then they took that away, and you could take the test as many times as you wanted.
And that was like about a year and a half ago or something like that they got rid of that restriction.
Yep.
And it was like good because that's unnecessarily complicated anyway.
Yeah.
To have this rolling 3 times in any 2-year window thing was like people were having to all the time strategize about like, well, do I get to take it again or not? Or like whatever. And then they just got rid of it. It's like, well, good.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they replaced it with a much more complicated
Seriously complicated, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's read it. So now you're caught up. This is what LSAC is saying today.
It says, Dear LSAT registrant, you are receiving this communication because you have taken or have registered to take the LSAT in the 2019-2020 testing year.
Oh my gosh.
We want you to know that LSAC is committed to providing a fair and equitable testing program and maintaining the integrity of the LSAT. We will be updating our test-taking limit policy later this summer, and it will go into effect with the September 2019 LSAT administration. We are still finishing up the final details of the new policy, but we know that there has been a lot of conversation on social media recently, so we wanted to share the basic elements in an effort to reduce the speculation and any anxiety. Based on our estimates, this policy will impact a small number of people, less than 1% of all LSAT test takers. That M dash, you don't put spaces around an M dash.
Interesting.
In effect, starting with the September 2019 test administration, test takers would be permitted to take the LSAT. And then we got bullet points. First bullet point, 3 times in a single testing year.
Hey, wait, can I stop for half a second?
Yes.
I wish, so aside from the fact that almost all of that first paragraph should have been deleted, maybe the entire thing, I think it would have been so funny. Who wrote this email? Oh, it's just from the Law School Admission Council.
Yeah.
It would have been hilarious if they had said, starting with the September 2019 test or LSAT, the following conditions must follow or something, like.
Yeah. Well, we were kind of laughing about this last time. It's like, this is totally, absolutely an LSAT logic game.
Yeah.
When we get through these rules, I'll ask a couple questions, and then the listeners would be able to do some LSAT some puzzling, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So 3 times in a testing year, and then parentheses, the testing year goes from June 1 to May 31st. Because, of course, they can't just use calendar years.
No.
So it's 3 times in any testing year, which is from June 1st to May 31st. Okay. The next bullet point, you can take it 5 times within the current and 5 past testing years, parentheses, the period in which LSAC reports scores to law schools. I wonder, I didn't even notice that. Does that mean it's a 6-year thing?
Yeah, I think it is.
Current and 5 past. I bet that it turns out, I bet they're going to end up just making that 5 years. They're being clunky with current and 5 past. I bet they mean just 5 most recent years.
I mean, that's what it seems like it would mean, because if that's the period in which the LSAC reports the schools, I don't know why they would make this 6 years, but...
Right.
Yeah, right. As it's written, it sounds like 6 years.
Right. So next rule, a total of 7 times over a lifetime. So 3 times in 1 year, 5 times in 5 or 6 years, it's unclear. 7 times in your life. This policy is forward-looking, not retroactive. Tests taken prior to September 2019 will not count against these numerical limits.
Numerical limits. What other kind of limits are we talking about?
And then it goes on. In addition, test takers would not be permitted to retake the LSAT if they have already scored a 180 within the current and 5 past testing years, the period in which LSAC reports scores to law schools. This policy will be applied retroactively.
Interesting.
So sorry to all the LSAT teacher nerds who take the test over and over to show how many 180s they can get. You're not allowed to do that anymore. There will be an appeals process for test takers who have special circumstances and want to request an exception to this policy. Because, of course, there has to be an appeals process for everything. We hope that this helps to address many of the questions. We will provide more detail in the weeks ahead. And then they give a phone number, email address, blah, blah, blah.
What more detail do they need to provide?
So I posted some of this on Facebook, but first of all, I do not think that this even impacts 2020 test takers or 2020 applicants at all. People who want to go to law school in 2020, I don't think this affects you.
Yeah, because if you take it 3 times, September, October, November, that's really when you want to be ending your LSAT test taking anyway, because you should be applying. Yeah,
you should be applying this fall if you want to go to law school next fall. So if you're hearing this now and you want to go to law school starting in 2020, no big deal. You still have a full, no matter how many times you've taken it in the past, you can still take it in September, October, and November without violating this policy at all. How many times can you take it, Ben, if you want to start law school in 2021?
Well, right now, we still have the July test in front of us. So you could take it in July, and then you could take it 3 more times between September and the end of May, June 1st. Let's just say June 1st. So that's 4 times at this point, right? Because you could take it in July, and then you could take it 4 times between September and June 1st. And then since the testing year has now reset, you could take it 2 more times before you apply. So for a total of 6 times if you include the July LSAT.
That's right.
How many people were planning on that, right?
Yeah. So it's like, if you're not going to law school if you are going to law school this cycle, it doesn't impact you. And if you're going to law school next cycle, it only impacts you if you were planning to take it 7 or 8 times.
Yeah. Now, if you don't take July, you can take it 5 times, but that's still a lot of times.
That's more times than most people should need to take it. I mean, I would think that 1% of the people would need to take it that many times.
Yeah. If you're taking it that many times, you jump the gun, most likely.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't prepared your first time, and that's the big mistake. You just have to get fully prepared before you start burning up not only, your attempts, but you start burning up $200 every time you take the test and wasting a Saturday, you know? So, all right. Anyway, I don't think that's any big deal. Email help@thinkinglsat.com if you want to talk about this, but I don't think it's any kind of a big deal.
I would say the bottom line here is that for the vast majority of people, you're basically limited to taking the test 5 times because you're not going to stretch this out over 6 years or 5 years or whatever. And so you either have to take it 3 times or 5, or at most 3 times or at most 5 times, depending on when you plan to apply. And so just keep that in the back of your mind. And that's a good number anyway, right? Like we've been telling people plan to take it 2-3 times. And that's basically what you're allowed to do now. And you have 2 more chances if you don't make it all happen in those 3 shots.
Totally. All right. Ready to do this? Well, do you think we have time for this Pearl, or should we just jump into the other stuff?
I'm happy to skip it. We can do it next week.
Let's come back to it if we have time. It's actually, I think I just glanced through it and it's a good one. We might actually have a Pearl.
Ooh, next okay. Time. Yeah. All right.
All right. Personal statement time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Read that email.
Hi, Ben and Nathan. I would appreciate if you could review my personal statement. It's a first draft and pretty rough. Feel free to tear it apart and destroy my self-esteem. Sabrina. Okay. Well.
Our goal is not to ruin your self-esteem.
Nope.
Our goal is to help to improve your writing, your thoughts, and your writing and your message.
I know that it can be pretty harsh sometimes, and it's easy for us to laugh at these things, but hopefully you can laugh with us because it's a lot better. It's going to be painful, Sabrina, and you know it, and that's why you sent this in, and that's great, actually. You know this is going to be painful, but it's going to be so much less painful than if you submit it to an application committee and they just deny you, and you have no idea why. Do you want me to read this?
Yep.
All right. I began my college career guessing at my future. Okay, your first sentence is your most important sentence, and this sentence says, I'm lost, and I'm a freshman in college. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a freshman in college walking around campus, wondering what to do with your life.
It's also, and it's also like boring. It's like, it's very mundane because who didn't begin their college career guessing at their future?
Sure.
Like 90% of people who think they know what they want to do when they start college actually have no clue anyway.
Yep.
So I read that and I'm like, you and everyone else, best case, I'm picturing you as a kid, bright-eyed and just full of hope. But no, you're still a kid, And worst case, I'm like, you're wasting my time. This is boring. Like, what? I need to know more about you.
Yeah. So just we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this first sentence for everyone's personal statement because it is the most important sentence. The second most important sentence in my mind is the last sentence. But if you don't pull them in, they're not going to get to the end. And you have to pull them in here. The next sentence continues, because of my experience in journalism in high school, I knew that it was a subject that I enjoyed and wanted to learn more about.
I mean, I think your third most important sentence is probably your second sentence.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, you got to pull me in here. And now we took a step back from college to high school.
We're going, back in time.
And it's like, okay, so you were on your high school paper and you know, it's like, it's one of these things where it's like, oh, no shit. You were interested in something in high school and then you thought about pursuing it when you went to college?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, everyone does that. Like, what? So what?
We want to know what you did. And so far, we've just heard about what you've thought.
Like, I went to college and picked a major.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So did every single person.
Sabrina, take heart, though. Almost everyone's first paragraph, maybe first 2 or 3 paragraphs, gets cut. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think we ever, it's like people take time to warm up. They need to warm up and get into what they actually have to say. And then once you find your voice, you say, okay, cut that previous stuff. This is where you start.
Yep. Totally. Totally. We'll keep looking. We'll find her first sentence. I bet it'll be in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Halfway through the second paragraph, it'll be here.
Yep. I focused my coursework on journalism and pursued that route. Okay.
Cut it.
Yep. We could see all this from your transcript. However, after learning about the First Amendment, public records, and media law, I decided to switch my focus to protecting journalists rather than becoming one. Okay, so you're explaining why you chose the major you chose. I can see this is somewhat tying into why you want to go to law school. Okay, well, we'll see what you have to say.
Yeah, I'm interested now, but I'm also real skeptical because that sounds like a big claim that needs to be supported, right?
Yeah.
Like that makes it sound like she's already a lawyer. Like, how much do you really know about the First Amendment? You haven't been to law school.
Yeah.
And wait, you've been protecting journalists? Holy shit. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah. She continues in the second paragraph. I research access. Okay. Whoa, you're doing something. Let's see what's going on here. I research access to public records and university policies at public universities across the country with the Brechner Center for Freedom of Information. Okay. This sentence is wordy and needs to be, I think, a little clearer, but this sounds like a much better first sentence. I still don't like research. It's a little passive, but if that's what you're doing and this is important, well, let's see what else you say.
Yeah, this is like, but the stark contrast between the first paragraph and the second paragraph, where the first paragraph, we see a kid who doesn't know anything, like what? I don't care, whatever.
Yeah, like we don't need to know that you went through this process because everyone does. I'm still going through it right now.
Yeah, totally.
Eventually I'll figure out what to do with my life. But the fact that you say, like just cut that whole first paragraph and just say, this is what I do. We're like, oh, cool. Clearly you have become interested in this and clearly you are pursuing it.
Yeah. In the second paragraph, it's all of a sudden like, oh shit, she's like a badass.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Like someone has hired you to do this stuff that seems significant.
And it actually is lawyer adjacent, you know? I mean, this is clearly like law related. If you just start right in with like, here's what it's like to do these freedom of information requests or whatever. Dude, I'm totally into this.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. I request public records and research university policies on the internet to examine the variety of policies that public universities have regarding releasing information that would be considered a public record if requested from a state government or the federal government. Okay, your first sentence and your second sentence of this paragraph were both too wordy. Even though your first sentence was half the length, it's just still like, I don't know. You're saying a lot of stuff here without saying anything.
Two tips there. I mean, y'all need to just stick to like a hard word limit of probably 30 words per sentence. This one, I did a quick word count, 41 words there.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't get away with that. You can always cut that into 2 sentences. The other thing, this is Ben's tip, but I love it. If you would have printed this out and read it out loud, you would have run out of breath while you were reading that sentence, just like Ben was doing.
Yeah.
And if you run out of breath reading the sentence, then you realize that like that shit needs to be cut down. So there's a lot here to work with. Like just, oh my God, keep telling me what you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So one thing you say here is, I request public records and research university policies on the internet. Like this could possibly be 2 different
Totally
sentences. What is like researching or requesting public records in itself could be a whole focus of one individual's job. Like they go get records. What are they getting them for? In any case.
Yeah. Also, I think doing these to me, it sounds like these public records requests are much more interesting. Researching university policies on the internet.
That doesn't sound
like. I mean, if you're doing research in like LexisNexis or something, then okay. But if that kind of just sounds like you're Googling shit.
Yeah, you sound like an intern, which you might be, and that's fine. But let's focus on.
But then it's just not that impressive of research, right? Like, are you publishing research? If you're publishing research, then just say that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's already reflected on your resume. But otherwise, I don't know. Like maybe we just cut out the research bit and just only talk about what it's actually like to do these requests.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so you're researching these policies to examine the variety of policies. Why are you trying to examine the variety? You want to know you want to know how many different policies there are out there?
Yeah, trying to get the scope of policies, or I don't know. It's interesting. There's something to work with here for sure.
Well, I want to know why she's examining the variety of policies so that we can see the purpose. Like, I think you've done a good job of showing us that you're doing things, but we need to find out why this is significant and how this protects journalists. Okay. To examine the variety of policies that public universities have regarding releasing information that would be considered a public record if requested from a state government or the federal government. Okay, so that definitely needs to be cut down. Okay. So you want to figure out what their policies are in these situations. Through this research, I have spoken with resident assistants at universities and university newspaper staff to understand how public universities prevent the media from speaking with staff. Okay.
Oh, well, that part actually. So now that's not just like researching on the internet.
No.
The fact that you're now like making phone calls, talking to RAs, talking to university paper, reporters from university papers or whatever staff. That's kind of interesting, right? Like,
this is interesting.
Getting out there into the world.
Yeah.
Asking people some tough questions, maybe. I'm sure that the school, if people who work for the schools do not like talking about the ways that they stop the media from asking them questions.
No.
Right? I mean, these are tough questions.
Yeah. She's rolling up her sleeve. Yeah.
When the paper calls you and they want to look at, they want to talk to you, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we send them over to this gatekeeper who tells them no, basically.
Yeah.
That's like that's kind of a touchy, that's a hard, important issue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot here that I like.
Yeah. And this could range, like, who knows what kind of issues when university students get accused of crimes and the university is trying to figure out what happened before they say things to the public or the media. Oh yeah, this is fascinating.
Some horrible shit happens on campus at like a frat, and then reporters start asking questions about the policies for certification of fraternities, and they get like sloughed off to this PR flack who tries to diffuse the situation and like isn't really answering questions and won't let the reporters come and talk to the people, that's important, interesting stuff. So yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Cool. The first project I worked on with the Brechner group, how would you say that? Brechner?
I'd go Brechner.
Yeah, Brechner Center, related to universities' policies for RAs speaking with the media. Cool. That's a short sentence. It's easy to follow. I found that at many public universities, RAs are not allowed to speak with members of the media or they will be fired. The director of the center and I are now writing a paper about if this is constitutional, as there has not been a Supreme Court case regarding RA's freedom of expression being oppressed. Sorry. Okay, cool. I mean, I think there's some things you need to work on in terms of your sentences stylistically, but this is interesting.
Yeah, that word oppressed there is a little bit fraught as well. Like it's a little too, it sounds just that word choice there makes it sound like you've already made up your mind.
It does. You don't sound neutral. I think people don't realize. I think they feel like the person reading their personal statement is going to have the same worldview as they do.
Right.
But no, it's always good to go in with a little just like, the world is gray.
Mm-hmm. And we're researching the constitutionality of this policy. You know, don't want to throw in these RAs' freedom of expression as being oppressed. Like you might believe that, but.
And when it comes to oppressing freedom of expression, I think there are much worse cases.
Yeah.
In any case. I'm actually surprised this issue hasn't come up. I'm sure that employees have been told not to talk to the media about company policies and things like that.
Yeah, RAs are an interesting type of employee though, right? Because I mean, it's probably just a sophomore, junior, senior, something like that, living in the dorm, still going to school, but they'll lose their job, but to potentially get kicked out of the dorm.
Yeah.
Because they lost their job because they're not paying for the space, you know? And now they are, oh no, if a reporter ever calls you and asks what happened on your floor, you cannot talk to them. You'll be fired. Whoa, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I also researched whether public universities are considered public forums using policies published on the internet to determine how certain universities determine if members of the media can come on campus. Technically, you need to say determine whether members of the media can come on campus. I would cut this whole stuff about published on the internet. I don't think we need to know where you're finding this. We can just assume the best. Like you're digging through.
Well, of course, the internet is part of your research, and it might be 99% of your research. But every time you say on the internet, I just see you Googling things, and it's like you really undercut your own point by doing that.
Yeah. Internet, by the way, is still technically capitalized, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah. Kind of old school.
Well, you don't need to worry about that.
But yeah.
Just don't put that.
If you resist our advice on that point, please capitalize it. Which sucks, but law schools are old school. Through this research, I found that many universities do not treat campus as a public forum and reserve the right to prevent media from stepping foot on campus, while others are green light campuses, which means they only prohibit speech on time, place, manner restrictions. That's a little. I would try to make this more natural speech.
Yeah, that's getting a little jargony.
Yeah,
but yeah, okay.
I like the use of green light campuses. It's like shows that you're in the know. But when you define it, just say things like. I mean, actually, it's kind of obvious. But if you are going to define it, say meaning which means they prohibit speech to certain places and times
and manners instead of that like weird time place manner thing. Yeah. Okay.
This research has shown me, by the way, this is a good usage of the word this. This is a pronoun which refers back to a noun. And people use this, of course, all the time. It makes our language flow better. But the thing that most people do not do is they don't put a noun after the word this. They just say this, right? Like they could say, this has shown me. And the problem with doing that is that
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not necessarily
this
clear.
Could be referring to anything.
Yeah. And so I used to work with a journalist, and he said, and he was actually award-winning journalist, and he said, every time you use this, put that noun. And it may be obvious to you. It may even be obvious in that particular situation. But by saying the noun, you just make that crystal clear what you're referring back to.
Okay.
Anyway, so she's done that here, which is great. This research has shown me that the lack of standardization among public universities in policies and in determining whether they are part of the government. I'm not sure I follow that very well.
Yeah, I don't like the has shown me. Could it just be this research shows?
Yeah. It's
the lack of standardization.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's a little wordy. It's a little clunky. I don't know. Let's just maybe move forward.
Without this standardization, which I have trouble saying, it is difficult to determine whether certain kinds of speech are allowed. I am now researching deserts.
Cool.
Okay, in public universities to create a standardized understanding of the role of public universities and the information they must release as public records.
I would like to ask some questions about that. You know, that seems interesting. You just throw that out there and then don't really explain what a data desert is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing that it's like, hey, look, here's this spot where we don't have any data.
Yeah.
And like, if we research that spot, we can sort of infer what's going on by what's not there. Right.
So much to say here.
But yeah, I would love to flesh that out. You could cut so much of the other stuff and boil a lot of it down, but then that would give you room to talk about like that, which sounds like really interesting, important work.
By the way, I'm not a fan of changing words just for the sake of changing words. If the best word is research, then that's the best word. But you've said research so many times in this statement. I would prefer that you say, we looked into, we investigated, we found, we determined. There's so many different ways to basically tell us that you're looking into these things without saying researching yet again.
Yeah, you could call it work at some, this work, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like that would be fine.
Totally.
Just to mix it up a little bit.
Sure. She continues, I am continuing my research regarding public universities.
Work.
Yeah, my work. I'm continuing my work regarding.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long word, but anyways, regarding public universities as the legislative intern for the University of Florida's Office of Federal Relations. I don't know why you need to tell us this. I think we'll see that on your resume.
Right.
I guess unless you left. Oh, yeah, you left this place. Okay, I see. This is a transition. I would probably just say after leaving, so it's very clear where you were. But anyways, in this role, I research freedom of expression and how to make it more prevalent in university policies and on campus. Okay, again, you're researching. Through my research, I am finding ways to make UF a more diverse environment for ideas, and I hope to continue to do this work as a First Amendment attorney in my future. No, cut that.
Right.
This is actually super interesting in my mind because now you're on the other side, right? Am I? University of Florida's Office of Federal Relations. She's now working for the university.
Yes, as a legislative intern for the University of Florida's Office of Federal Relations. Interesting. My thing with that last paragraph is that I felt like, again, it was just too much of like her politics, because now she's trying to make freedom of expression more prevalent. She's trying to make UF a more diverse environment for ideas. I kind of liked it a little bit better when I thought of her as a little more neutral, like researcher, data scientist type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She said research so many times, but now it sounds like she's doing politics, which, okay, fine. Like maybe that is what you want to do. I just don't know that we need, like, when it somehow, I don't know, it kind of cheapens it a little bit when you put in like that bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I think part of the problem here is that if that's what you're doing, great. But this paragraph doesn't say a whole lot. It's actually, that's the problem. It's telling, right? I'm this legislative intern. Okay, fact. Next sentence. In this role, I research freedom of expression and how to make it more prevalent in university policies and on campus. This sentence is so high level that it's essentially telling, because we just have to believe that that's what you're doing, as opposed to seeing you talk to RAs, seeing you work on a paper about the constitutionality of a particular problem. Like, I have no idea what you do in this office, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she started off that way. She started off in her first paragraph just far too introductory. And then in this last sentence, she's like trying to be too broad to like encompass everything, you know?
Yeah.
Finding ways to make UF a more diverse environment for ideas. Like, whoa, that's very high level, right?
Yeah.
And we'd rather learn more about you, like not what you want to do, but like what do you actually do?
Yeah. It feels to me like she's on the other side now. She's like working for the university, and maybe this is an office within the university that's like pro media, but it sounds like the Office of Federal Relations actually sounds like we got to manage something. I don't know. There's so much to say here. Like, cut down your sentences in your first thing, jump into the details, the facts, and then expand on this a little bit. And now we'll see you as this multi-part where you've had two jobs and they're both related to freedom of speech without saying freedom of speech.
There's a ton to work with here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sabrina, for sending this in. This is this is one that if we were working on this one in our personal statement review service that we do, I would be very excited. This is like a lot to work with. I'd have lots of comments.
Yeah.
And I'd have lots of questions about like, hey, can you flesh out this? Can you flesh out this? Like, what does this mean? Can we get, can I have a specific example of this? And I think you'd end up with a very strong statement where she's just hammering like, I do this, I did that, I saw this, I asked that. I think it could be great.
Yeah. My final thought here, given how much seems to be under the surface, is it again just illustrates how details, the right details, push your story forward. High level sort of blanket statements don't. They just take up space. You need to get rid of all of that stuff. And every sentence needs to give us a detail where you can see you doing something, and that thing needs to be relevant to your professionalism. And when you start giving us that kind of stuff, it just, wow, it creates this picture of someone who's a professional badass, as you always say, Nathan, and is doing things, and we can see that. And it doesn't need to take a long time. This is a short personal statement, which is great, but half the sentences here don't push the ball forward.
Yeah, including the entire first paragraph that was just like, meandering around of like, I was in high school and college and I had to pick a major and I didn't know it's like, yeah, let's get into the story.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Sabrina's personal statement other than thanks?
I think there's a lot to work with here. Congratulations. I feel like people are standing up to the challenge to give us a good personal statement to still destroy, but one that has not just like awful, You know
what's amazing is that she said this was like a very rough draft, right?
Yeah, interesting.
That's like how the 170 something students in class always ask questions, like always don't understand things.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best personal statements I think we've read on the show. And she thinks that's, a first draft and pretty rough. And it's like, well, I don't know about that, Sabrina.
Yeah,
I think you might have gone through that a few times.
Wasn't the last one we read? The person was like, this is pretty good.
Popping off about how it was polished and like correctly used everything. And then we find typos. And then Sabrina's, did we have a misspelling? Did we have a incorrect word? We had a couple run-on sentences, maybe some clunky stuff, but I didn't see anything that was just straight broken.
Yeah.
She didn't try to use any semicolons. That was good. Mm-hmm. All right. Moving on. The LSAC has released a couple new prep tests on its website. And because of that, we get to talk about them freely because you can just go straight to the LSAC website and look at them.
Yeah. Look them.
So this is look them. Go look them. December 2013 test, prep test 71. We're going to start hammering through these logical reasoning questions. It's really fun to have new logical reasoning questions that we can talk about on the show.
Yeah. I should say that you can find these on LSAT Demon as well. So.
Oh, and you can find these on lsatdemon.com. Awesome. You want me to read this prompt?
Go for it.
Okay, we are not reading the question stem first because reading the question stem first is ridiculous. How can you answer the question if you haven't even read the argument yet? Sometimes you can answer the question without reading the question prompt, or you can have a very good idea what the answer is going to be just from reading the argument.
Yeah.
But you can never do that from reading the question stem. So we are not reading the question stem first. We're reading the argument first. So here's the argument. It says, several years ago, most of one country's large banks failed and were taken over by a government agency. The agency is now selling these banks, aiming to strengthen the banking system in the process. But the banking system will not be strengthened if the former owners of these banks buy them back. I could stop there, and kind of like let that sink in for a second.
Yeah, I can almost predict what they're going to say next, or what they should say next.
What I'm thinking about there is like, oh yeah, well these like dirt bags, or either like they were crooked or they're just terrible at managing the banks. Mm-hmm. That's why they failed. That's why the government had to step in. The government now is trying to divest themselves of these banks and sell them back into the public hands, but we don't want to sell it to the same dirtbags or the same idiots. Okay, I get that. That makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. Because they'll just do the same thing again.
Yeah.
So the agency is unlikely to achieve its goal since blank. What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm just screaming. In my head, just screaming. Since if they're unlikely to achieve it, if the agency is unlikely to achieve its goal, and they just told us that selling these banks back to the former owners would not strengthen the banking system, which is their goal. My guess, given these premises, is that those former owners are likely to buy them back.
Yep. Like the only possible people who could buy them back are the former owners.
Yeah.
Or the only bidders are the former owners.
Yep.
Or there are no other people who could buy the bank. A million different ways to do that. And you would be able to prove that conclusion. Now, I still haven't even read the question stem or the question. Yeah, I haven't read the question stem yet. Yeah. I'm just dealing with the argument. Mm-hmm. I know that the correct answer is going to be a premise because it says since blank.
Yep.
Right? The first part of that sentence is this, so the agency is unlikely to achieve its goal. So means therefore, and that almost always means, here's my conclusion. Mm-hmm. The conclusion is the agency is not going to achieve its goal of strengthening the banking system. Since blank, that means we're looking for a premise. This is not a must be true question. People sometimes think that this is just going to be a must be true question.
Yeah.
And this is not. This is a strengthen question or possibly even a sufficient assumption question. And that's what it turns out to be. It says the conclusion of the argument is properly drawn if which one of the following completes the passage. Properly drawn means proven. Mm-hmm. And if which one of the following completes the passage basically means if true.
Yep.
So that question means the conclusion is proven if which one of the following is true.
Yep.
So on a sufficient assumption question, we have to make the argument win. And we've already said, but we already knew that. Like we knew that that's what was coming.
Yeah.
And so going into the answer choices, my prediction, I haven't looked at them yet. My prediction is the former owners are the only people who could possibly buy the banks.
Yeah. I agree with that. I would just add one thing. The goal is to make the argument win, which specifically means the goal is to make the conclusion, the main conclusion of the argument, proven, which is what you were saying earlier. But that's what's going to win specifically, right?
Yeah, you have to take the evidence that they have and you have to just like staple it to the conclusion that they are trying to prove. Mm-hmm. It's like summary judgment, right? We're looking for summary judgment for the plaintiff, where based on stipulated facts and based on law that is just like clearly controls the case, the judge is going to look at it and is going to go, hey, we're not having a trial. You guys already won.
Yeah.
This is over. There's nothing here. Summary judgment. Boom. Get out.
Yeah.
And this is sufficient assumption questions are a huge opportunity for everyone, like I yell at my class all the time now, you should just never, ever miss a sufficient assumption question. Necessary assumption questions, I think, are a lot trickier. Mm-hmm. Not to say that you can't get all those ones right too, but sufficient assumption questions, I think you can get to a point where you're just never going to miss it because you're going to be so good at predicting. Like you've got to feel that click where it's like, this one makes the argument win.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
So A says the agency may be unable to sell some of the banks.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, we're not leaving that open for consideration. The answer is going to say the former owners are the only people who could possibly buy the banks.
Yep.
That's not what A says. So A's out. Like, I don't care what it says. I'm doing the test actively. B, a single company could buy more than one of the banks.
Whoa. So what?
Yeah, it's just, we know the answer and that's not it. C, the country's overall economy is not much stronger than it was when the large banks failed.
Again, we need to know that these former owners.
D, the banks sold by the agency will be financially weaker than the country's other banks for some time. It's like a strengthener, you know? Mm. But it's like, it's also just not connecting the evidence in the argument to the conclusion that we're really trying to prove. It doesn't, like, okay, I guess that kind of makes it look like the economy, the banking system isn't going to get stronger.
But even then, it's like so bad, right? Because it's like the banks will be weaker. What does that have to do with the banking system? Does that mean that the system will be weaker? I have no idea.
Not necessarily the same thing, but still, I mean, like if this was a strengthen question and if none of the other answers were any good, I could pick that as a strengthener. I see it as a strengthener. But this is not just a strengthen question. Sufficient assumption questions are super strengthener questions.
Yep.
Where you have to strengthen the argument beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
So it either wins or it's not the right answer. Mm-hmm. And E says all of the bidders for the banks are their former owners.
Boom. By the way, that's not necessary. So this is overkill. It's not necessary that all the bidders for the banks are their former owners. But if this is true, bam, the argument wins. And that's the question. So sometimes people shy away from answers like this because like, well, it's so extreme. That doesn't need to be true. You're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be true. It just has to be likely that the bidders for the banks are their former owners because the conclusion said the agency is unlikely to achieve its goal, not ruling out the possibility that it could still do so. But when people are like, oh, I didn't like this answer because it was too strong and it's a sufficient assumption question, you just have to say, okay, you don't understand the goal. The goal is to find the strongest way to win. And if you have to, it's like those games, you know, when your kid comes home and they're like, oh, what was the score? And it's like, well, the other team had 18 points and we had 3. And you're like, why didn't the other coach stop them? It doesn't matter. In a sufficient assumption question, the correct answer can just bury the other team. It's going to win. I hope that analogy made sense.
Yeah, overkill is great on a sufficient assumption question. There's no such thing as too strong of an answer, or like an answer that proves too much is never going to be wrong on a sufficient assumption question. Yeah. We're looking for the biggest possible hammer we can find to move the argument the most. You know, it's like pounding in a nail with a sledgehammer. It's like, okay, well, that's too much, but yep, that'll do it.
Yep.
And it's such a big opportunity. You got to start predicting the answers on these sufficient assumption questions. By the way, you know, to back off of that even a step further, we knew the answer before we even read the question. It's just the only thing that could logically fit into that blank. They gave evidence. They gave a conclusion. What could they possibly have meant? Oh, you must mean that the other bidders are the same people. Mm-hmm. Cool. Anything else on that?
No.
All right. We will get back into these logical reasoning questions. We should probably just start doing one every episode until we're done with them.
Yeah, they're fun.
How many tests did they release?
3.
Oh shit. So we got 150 questions. Wow. So wrap this up around episode 350 of the show. Great. Gives us lots to talk about. Anything else before we wrap it up, Ben?
That's all.
Okay. Check out the Thinking LSAT podcast group on Facebook. Give the Thinking LSAT Facebook page a like while you're there. Search for @Thinking LSAT. We're at Thinking LSAT on Instagram, Thinking LSAT on Twitter. I'm in Fox on Twitter. Ben is at Olson Benjamin on Twitter. Go to lsatdemon.com and do a 7-day free trial. Reminder, Sunday, June 20th, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a proctored, virtual live proctored exam via Zoom and the LSAT Demon. So sign up for your free trial and you'll be able to do a test with some other folks across the country, and then hang out after the test and virtually review it with your new friends. I think that could be extremely useful for people who are stuck out in Nebraska or whatever.
Yeah. And to do that test, you just need a free trial account or an active Demon subscription, either regular or premium. Doesn't matter.
Cool. That was show number 198. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.